Hey, here we are again. It's Tony and Mike's new adventure. And once again, we are so happy to be here. Now, I know that we have announced that we were going to be on News 12 this afternoon. They were doing a little story on our reunion here on Facebook. But apparently, Mike, a big story in Bridgeport. And I have to say, I think we had to be bumped for this big story. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, just so people know, they recorded a couple of segments of Tony and I, the folks over at News 12. So we thank Frank and Lori, who sort of put all this together. And they pieced it together. They put together a big story. I think a tease, as they call it in the business, Tony, a tease played earlier this afternoon.
Twice,
And
actually.
twice, okay. And so they sent a link out. So we put that link on our Facebook page that kind of has the preview story of it. And the bigger chunk of the story was supposed to air later this afternoon or earlier this afternoon, depending on when you're listening to it. But the police chief in Bridgeport, Armando Perez, who we had on the radio show several times, was apparently arrested. And the FBI has been staking out the city of Bridgeport for several months, years. In fact, I think they were there when I was still with the radio station. And you never really knew what they were looking for. You always thought, oh boy, we've got a mayor that used to be in prison. Is there something happening here again? But apparently they were investigating the police chief and the acting personnel director because apparently they rigged the process of Armando Perez going from acting police chief to permanent police chief. In fact, according to the story, he had a couple of police officers while on duty, write his resume, answer some of the questions on the exam. I guess the personnel director, Mr. Dunn, got the information over to the police chief, allegedly. This is, of course, all part of the investigation. So he could take a look at these questions ahead of time. And here we go. He's now arrested, and the city of Bridgeport moves forward.
Now, is this something that's going to just become a domino effect? I mean, they must be looking into other things there at City Hall. I mean, I hope this works out and it's an isolated incident. But you've got to stop for a minute and think, what else is going on?
Well, remember, I mean, when the FBI arrests somebody, they usually don't do it unless they've got enough information that's going to push this all the way forward. And as you said, who knows who else is involved? How far up does it go? Does it involve the mayor's office at all? Because remember, I mean, Armando Perez was Mayor Ganem's guy.
Yeah.
We'll see how far this goes. And as you said, the domino effects from it. But a police chief getting arrested by the FBI, that's a big fish taken out in the city of Bridgeport. So that's why we were bumped today on News 12.
Okay, so what are we on? Are we on News 12 tomorrow? Is it happening next week? Do we have any idea of what's going on here?
We'll find out.
This AJ Perez story, this is going to go on for at least a week.
Well, sure. Sure. It's even affected our show today because we had to go back to our old vices and putting this program together ourselves as opposed to having Steve sort of take care of everything over at Doing It Local because he's, at the time we're recording this, staked out and looking to get the shot of the police chief in handcuffs. So we had to sort of go back to our old ways of recording the program.
You know, this too, you know, AJ Perez, I've been in his company several times. You've been in his company several times. I mean, I always liked him. He was always cool as far as we were concerned. But then again, we only talked to him in the studio there when we would interview him and everything like that. And this is where my mind goes. My God, man, now you've blown your pension. You've blown your reputation, everything, if these allegations are true. But the big thing where my mind goes, you worked all this time, you put in so much time, and now you're not going to have anything to show for it when it's all over with?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I remember saying when he was the acting police chief and then they were going through the process of finding a permanent one, I remember saying to myself, why not just give it to him? I mean, he's been there for however long. The police department seems to be in good hands. Why not? And then you find out that apparently there was some behind the scenes stuff going on. No, you're right. I mean, I'm not inside his head. I'm not inside the personnel director's head as to why they would have to feel they need to go down this route in order for him to secure the police chief position. But I mean, more details to come, I guess, when it comes to this. But it doesn't look good in the city of Bridgeport.
All right. Well, we'll keep you informed on that as we get more information. Such a sad story. Boy, wow.
It is. It is. And it's, we worked in Bridgeport for so many years. We were so tired of all the negative press that the city received. And, even when Mayor Gannon was reelected, there was all sorts of the past was brought up. And, here we are now with an amphitheater being built, all these types of things where it was excitement. Finally, the project there, Steel Point, moved forward with Bass Pro Shop and all this stuff. And all of a sudden now people can say, oh, that's just Bridgeport being Bridgeport, which is a very unfortunate thing.
Again, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back,
Oh, this is a pretty big step.
It's a pretty big step. Yeah, no, you're right. No, it is. Well, we'll see what happens. That's a very, very sad story this morning. We haven't talked much about this, but what the heck is going on with the New York Yankees? What is the story there?
Well, didn't Luke Voigt voice his disappointment with the rest of the team, where they had a 5-game losing streak or something along those lines?
Yeah. I mean, but what's going on? I mean, they started off, they were on fire, and I said to myself, oh my God, they're going to run away with it. Now we're going to be lucky if we make the playoffs. That's going to be a real challenge at this point.
Well, and remember, everything is magnified because it's a shortened season. So a 5-game losing streak is kind of like a 15-game losing streak in a regular season.
Right.
Tony, I'm even seeing this week magic numbers. I think the White Sox magic number is something like 13 or 12. We're already at that stage where the magic numbers are already starting to come up. And here it is, such a shortened season. But I don't know. I mean, Aaron Boone had to bench Gary Sanchez. Gary Sanchez, for some reason, forgot how to play baseball. The whole thing about Gary Sanchez in the past was, boy, when this guy hit the ball, he hit the ball, but boy, he was lazy. He never ran out grounders. He passed balls all the time. He wasn't a very good catcher. And now he's not even hitting. I mean, what was his batting average? 140 or something like that, if that.
Like $145, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, Aaron Boone had to make the decision to bench him, and of course, Gary Sanchez doesn't agree with the decision.
No,
but I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't look like they're playing very well right now. You play pretty much all your games in the division and in the region, so they can survive and try and get into the playoffs and see what happens from there. But right now, it's the Yankees aren't the team I would pick to win it for sure.
No, that's not going to happen. Not this year. We'll see. I mean, unless they catch fire. But I read someplace where they've got to win whatever's left. They've got to win it all. They can only afford to lose 2 games or whatever it is.
And that's how it works this year. I mean, you just can't afford to go on long losing streaks because there's just not that much time to catch back up. To get back into it. I don't know if we ever talked about this or asked it this way. A World Series champion this year, do you feel that team deserves an asterisk next to the World Series?
No. If they didn't put an asterisk next to the Houston Astros last year, why
the Houston Asterisks? You mean the Houston Asterisks?
No. I mean, come on. We all started out on an even keel. Right. Everybody had the same problems and the same hurdles that you had to get through. No, I think it should be counted as a regular season.
And I thoroughly agree with you, especially with a team that has a chance to win it. I mean, the White Sox are a team that a lot of people are looking at that have an opportunity to represent the American League in the World Series. So the way they're playing this year. So I certainly don't believe there needs to be an asterisk next to the team. But as you said, I even saw some commentators say that actually this is tougher. The way that this season has been set up with things like this, you can't afford losing streaks. You can't afford injuries. You can't afford anything like that because your team can go down fast and stay there.
And if I may interject, a lot of people I notice on Facebook, especially, calling for Aaron Boone to be fired. Come on.
I don't think any manager can get fired this year. I don't.
No.
I'd find that to be a very difficult decision
Yes.
for any management of a team to fire their coach based on this season. I think there's a lot of factors that led to why teams are playing the way that they are.
Well, the manager isn't what it used to be anyway.
Especially with all designated hitters now, with no National League rules, that's where a lot of management would take place. No, you're right. You're pretty much just managing the bullpen. That's all you're really managing as a manager these days.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. But we'll see. It's the first season that I can remember since I was 11 or 12 years old. I have absolutely no interest.
Come on, when you look up the White Sox, they will excite you. It's a team that will excite you. They're all pretty much players from other teams that the White Sox traded for over the past, 4 or 5 years. And and it's really paying off. I mean, I'm not kidding you. They're exciting. They certainly are exciting to watch this year. But speaking of sports, who would have thought football starting? They had college football started last week. The pros start today. We're recording this on Thursday with the Chiefs and the Texans playing. And then college football really gets into swing of it this weekend. So here we are, even with empty stands and all sorts of things, the start of the football season.
There are going to be crowds, though. Aren't some teams?
I thought I heard some stadiums would be allowing some people in.
Right.
Very limited, but I don't know if that's for sure. I don't know if the NFL is even allowing that at this point, or is it up to each team?
Okay, we'll see what happens there. But who do you like this year?
For the NFL, I don't know. I mean, I like the Chiefs again. I think that they're still really good. A lot of people are looking at Tampa Bay now with Tom Shady down in Tampa Bay with his good old friend Gronk with him. I don't know. I mean, I think the Chiefs are as good as any other team and they have a chance to win it. I just don't know how the football season is going to go. I saw something like one player out of over 2,600 tested positive for COVID.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the NFL is doing something right, I guess, with its players.
Sure. Well, we'll see. A lot of people looking forward to that this weekend. So,
a lot of kids either going back to school or back to school. I saw New Milford schools were going to be virtual for the rest of the week because some tested positive for something. But there was a big rally up at the state capitol about high school football. And you may remember we had this episode 1 or 2. We were talking about high school football this year, that in Connecticut, they first came out and said that there would be a football season. Then they said, no, we're going to take direction from the Department of Public Health. Then they came back and said yes. And now they've come out and said, no, there's not going to be a football season. And there was a big rally up at the state capitol with high school football coaches and a lot of the players. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they're seniors, they're juniors. They want to play football. They don't know the huge ramifications of coronavirus. You're a high school athlete. You're invincible. You don't think anything's going to make you sick. But the decision in Connecticut is not to play football. Some other sports they will play, but football being the big one is not going to play. So I know there was a huge rally up at the state capitol from athletes trying to get it. I guess Governor Lamont said something along the lines of, maybe we'll try early next year. But I'm even seeing people still pushing it to May when it comes to really getting back into any sort of real normalcy around this country. They're even pushing it into the summer next year.
Well, you're even seeing parents who are saying, I don't want my kids to attend school, let alone sporting events. So that's a big problem as well. I have a nephew, he's a phys ed teacher in New Haven, and they're not going back until November.
Yeah.
So
and think about where we're going to be in November. What's going on in the country or in the world in November? Flu season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, it's hard to say, hey, let's go back in November when now all of a sudden the flu is going to come out. How's that going to affect
Yep.
everything with the coronavirus?
Sure.
Just don't
Sure.
know.
So,
This is episode 8. Episode 7, the special word was SpaghettiOs. So we thank all the folks who said SpaghettiOs, like Lynn, Wheeler, Kathy, Sharon, Annette, Paula, Gill, Trisha, Diane, Nancy, Pat, Celeste, Charlene, Vicky, Dee, Allison, Barbara, Patricia, Karen, Richard, Peggy, Barbara, Philip, Lori, Nancy, David, Sally, Janet, and Vin. Just a few of the names of people who said SpaghettiOs for the word last week. We'll, of course, find out from Tony in a little bit what our word this week will be.
okay. All right.
Did you sneak that in the interview with Frank at News
Yes,
12?
I did. I told him what we do. And Frank at first was like, SpaghettiOs, what? And then I explained it. And he was like, oh, okay. I get it. So, yeah, we'll do that at the end.
Now, you commented on the Facebook about how old you looked
Yes.
in it.
When you see this News 12 piece, okay, I scared myself. I mean, I
Well, you
looked.
didn't wear your glasses. I'd barely recognize
Well,
you.
what happened was, in where we did this at a little studio near McCleady Green in Bridgeport. So you had to put a mask on when you went to the studio. So I go up in the elevator. Of course, you know the problem. You know, you've got your glasses on. Next thing you know, everything's all fogged up. Okay. So Frank was setting up the shot. Lori was setting up the shot. And we're talking. I couldn't take it anymore. I took off my glasses and I put them in my pocket. And then after all of that, Frank turns around and says, okay, take off your mask. We don't need that. Let's just do it. And I never put my glasses back on. So that was the story. But
I got to be honest. When I first saw it, I'm not kidding you. I thought it was Jim Buchanan. I'm like, oh, they got Jimmy to comment on this? That's fantastic. They got Jim to talk. And then it's you. I'm looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Tony.
Yeah. I mean, I look at myself in the mirror every morning. Okay. I look at myself and I think to myself, oh my God, I look like my Uncle Vic. My Uncle Vic was my father's younger brother and beautiful guy, but he wasn't winning any beauty contest. So the thing about it is that, I always looked at my father, who was a pretty good looking guy. And as he got older, he never really lost his looks. And now I look in the mirror and I see Uncle Vic. It's just amazing.
Now, let's establish at one point you had the looks.
No, but when I looked in the mirror, when I was like 40 or 45, if I looked in the mirror, I said, if my father was a tub of lard, this is probably what he would look like. You know what I'm saying? But
is your nephew going to do a podcast in 25 years saying, now my Uncle Tony, he wasn't a looker, and now all of a sudden I look like my Uncle Tony?
No, and I'm going to tell you why, because they've got the metabolism. They've got them, where they can eat.
It stops, Tony. We know that the metabolism stops at some point.
All right. I hope so. Teach him a lesson. So what are you going to do? All right. Getting serious once again. Tomorrow we're at the 19th anniversary of 9/11. Mm-hmm. And this is something that comes up each and every year. From what I understand, in New York City, I guess they're not going to read the names live this time around. I guess what they're going to do is they're going to run a tape, an audio tape of family members, saying the loved one's name. That's the way they're going to do it this year. Now, I don't know if this is to move it along a little quicker. I don't know if it's because of COVID or what the case is, but this is a new deal this year.
I would assume it has to do with COVID. I mean, they probably don't want a bunch of people congregating down in New York City for the ceremony. I mean, I would assume that the live reading of the names means that all of the family members once again come to the site and are sitting there and awaiting their family members' names to be read. So everything's affected. What's so sad is that when that happened, nobody even thought twice about sending firefighters and police officers and emergency responders into that chaos. And now here we are with a virus, and everybody's like, whoa, let's nobody go in there. At the time, a lot of people who are, looking for their medical benefits from what they had to go into 19 years ago,
Right.
would certainly agree with that. But yeah, it's it's unfortunately one of those things that we're now 19 years removed. That anniversary and the Sandy Hook anniversary are two that I certainly will never forget. I mean,
Nope.
every morning that I wake up on those mornings, I take myself right back to where I was at the time when I first heard about what was going on. But it's unfortunate that a virus, which can spread easily when people congregate for a long period of time, which would be the case if they went down and listened to, the over 3,000 names that were being read, affects that. And I'm sure family members will still go. I'm sure they'll still go, into Connecticut there and look across where they were. But yeah, things are affected because of the virus. They don't want people congregating for long periods of time.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, it's most unfortunate because not that we'll ever forget, but you want to do this every year. It's important that we remember every single year, no matter what. And I still can't believe that it's 19 years. I mean,
I
my
know.
gosh,
So,
that's
some parts it feels like it was a long time ago because we've just had so many things happen since 9/11 in this country with the school shootings and everything else that's happened. But then with it being tomorrow, because we're recording this on Thursday, it feels like it just happened. It feels like, I mean, I was a half a country away in the Chicagoland area when it happened, watching the footage on the Today Show of the towers, smoldering. And so I just go right back to that moment whenever we're now going to see all that footage on the news over the next 24 plus hours, with everything that's going on. Very sad.
absolutely,
Very
absolutely.
sad. Last year, of course, was 2019, which a lot of people would love to go back. People can't wait till 2021 because this year has sucked royally, a lot of people would say. But for 2019, the Social Security Administration just released the most popular baby names for
Ah,
2019. Do you have a guess for 2019 what the most popular boy's name was?
the boys. I don't know. Probably something biblical, like Adam or something like that.
Um, all right, we'll go from 10 to 1. All right, here's number 10. Ethan,
Biblical.
Mason,
Okay.
Lucas,
Okay.
Benjamin, one of my sons named Benjamin, James, Elijah, William, Oliver, Noah, and the number one name for boys in 2019 was Liam.
Okay.
Now,
Liam.
what I'm surprised about is that Aiden just completely fell off the list. Remember, Aiden was the hottest
Yep.
for, like, I know when McKenna was at the time of being born, if she were a boy, she would have been named Aiden. That was the name that we had for a boy. But not even in the top 10. Surprised. All right. So what about girls?
Girls. Tiffany.
Really? That's your guess for most popular?
Go ahead.
Well, number 10, Evelyn.
See, that's an old fashioned name.
That is. Number 9, Harper,
Okay.
Mia, Amelia, Charlotte, Isabella, Sophia. Remember, Sophia for years was number 1. That's been knocked down. Ava, AVA is the spelling. Emma, and the number 1 name, Olivia.
Olivia. Okay.
Yeah, very nice.
All right. Very nice. If I was having another child, I would name her Olivia.
Oh, so you'd go with the popular. See, I'm a Michael in the mid 70s.
Right.
So, okay, you're Michael, there's like 20 of us in one class. In fact, we always joke because at Frito, we're all named Mike.
Mhm.
We are all named Mike. There's like 6 of us that are named Mike. So whenever somebody comes into the store, they're like, let me guess your name, Mike. Yeah, actually, my name is Mike. It's a prerequisite for working at Food
Right.
Hub.
Sure,
Gotta
sure.
be
Well, I
it.
told you, I mean, growing up, my grandfather was Anthony. My father was Anthony. I'm Anthony. My cousin is Anthony. Then my other cousin, he had a boy. He named him Anthony.
Well,
So
this is
now,
like the Goodfellas bit.
exactly. That's right. Only, yeah, right. Okay. But it was like, oh, how do we tell them all apart? And they turned around and they said, okay, when I was born, you're Tony Boy. Okay. So for years, Tony Boy, come on, we're gonna eat. Tony Boy, where are you? Tony Boy. That's okay. But now, pushing 60 years old, you go to a family function. Tony Boy, Tony Boy.
Well, because in their mind, you're still little Tony boy.
I guess so.
Yeah, I was little Mike, and my uncle Mike was Big Mike. That's
Okay.
how
Okay.
that's how
Okay. And
elaborate we got in my family.
whenever I get into trouble around here, my wife will say, "Who left their jacket on the couch over here?" Tony Boy.
Oh, okay. She knows. Good
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah. So
Good for her. All right. All right. The National Toy Hall of Fame listed its finalists for this year.
okay.
The finalists this year, Baby Nancy doll.
I
Well,
never heard of
we're boys. I don't know if we would. Bingo.
it. Okay.
Breyer toy horses.
I'm sorry, I never played with them.
Jenga.
Jenga I've heard of, but I wouldn't know how to play.
Light Bright.
Light Bright, sure.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that was a big one. Light Bright.
He-Man action figures.
Okay.
Guilty as charged. I had the whole set when I was a kid. My Little Pony.
Okay.
Risk.
Don't remember.
It's a board game, I think.
Okay.
Risk, isn't that the one where Kramer?
I
That's
don't
the
know.
game they were playing. Wasn't that Risk?
Was
Him
that
and
risk?
Newman?
I don't know.
You don't remember that episode when they were playing? You
I
say
probably would if I started.
You say Ukraine weak, and then he
Oh yeah.
yeah, where Jerry had to keep the board because Kramer didn't trust Newman to. Let's see here, Sidewalk Chalk. This is where they lose me. I don't. That's a toy. The game Sorry,
Okay.
which is a big game. With Tamagotchi
I have no idea.
and Yahtzee.
Yahtzee. Okay. Okay.
Yahtzee.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're right.
Um,
Chalk. I mean, first of all, if you were going to put it in the Hall of Fame, you should have put it in the Hall of Fame in 1890, for God's sakes. I mean, what the hell? Okay.
What's your wife going to do? The Kardashians are going off the air. Did you see that?
I know. But you know what? She hasn't been watching it like she used to. Her new thing is she loves counting on, I guess it is. And it's a family that's got like the mother and father have like 19 kids, and their kids have had a lot of kids, and there's a lot of grandchildren, and I mean there's like 400 people running around, and when they're going to have a party or something, they have to rent out a VFW because no house can hold on to it. The Duggars, but it's called Counting On or something
Okay.
like that, Counting Down. That's her big one right now.
It's the sequel to 8 is Nearly Not Enough.
Exactly. And the other one, of course, that she can't get enough of, what's that
Which one is it?
I don't know. I can't think of it now.
The Fiance? The 90? Is it a
Not
reality
90 Day
show?
Fiance. That's the bit because there's 90 Day Fiance, then 90 Day Fiance the other way, then 90 Day Fiance over here, over there. I mean, it never ends.
Well, I'll tell you what this pandemic has done is it's brought my mom to watch the Kardashians.
Really?
I was very surprised to learn that she was an avid watcher of Keeping Up with the
are
Kardashians.
finished now, as of right now, or they have one more season?
The last season will air early next year.
Okay, so we still got okay.
Yeah, they said we're beyond grateful to all of you who've watched us over these years, through the good and the bad, the happiness, the tears, the many relationships and children. We'll forever cherish the wonderful memories.
Okay. Who wrote that for them? They didn't write that.
Well, that's got to be Ryan Seacrest. Now,
Yeah.
what's Ryan Seacrest going to do? He's the one who's been making so much money off of the Kardashians as the
He'll
producer.
come up with something. And you know something? The Kardashians may be gone, but watch, there'll be a spin-off series with Kim or somebody.
Oh, sure. Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
They're not going to completely let
Well, they'll
that.
have something with their kids,
Yeah.
something with their kids.
Something like that.
Yeah. Yep. I certainly agree with you. And the other thing I had, which, as we said, music is a big part of your life.
Mhm.
Can you allow a song to play without dancing of any sort? Meaning foot tap, finger tap, swaying back and forth. Can you listen to music without doing any form of dance?
Okay. The only form of expression that I have these days when listening to music, because I listen to all my music in the car. I'll hook in the iPod. I know it's old fashioned, but I hook in the iPod and I'll listen if I'm driving someplace or whatever. And I do the steering wheel tap, on
There you
the
go.
steering wheel. But
All right.
that's about it.
Well, the University of Oslo in Norway found that our bodies start instinctively moving when we hear music.
Okay.
And it's almost impossible to not dance and just stand still. Even if you don't think you're dancing, our brains are so programmed to like music that your body is making tiny movements to the beat, like tapping your foot, nodding your head, or something along those lines.
Interesting.
Yeah. So next time a song is on, take note if you're doing any sort of movement.
What's your moves?
Sometimes if there's a good drum part to it, that
Right.
middle console gets pretty well rocked. Top of the steering wheel. I'm usually pretty bad at like Van Halen songs at drum parts. Like I will just bash the steering wheel pretty crazy. The dashboard sometimes.
Okay.
I don't do foot tapping just because it's on the pedal. I try to refrain from that. But yeah, usually that middle console gets pretty well rocked if there's a good drum beat to a song. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Reading this morning that I don't know if you watch the show Mom. I don't watch it, but it's been on for 7 years, and it stars Allison Janney and Anna Faris. And apparently, Anna Faris is not returning. She's not coming back to Mom. It's a very popular show, but she's not coming back. And I started thinking to myself, now Allison Janney is sticking with the show. She's an Academy Award winner. In fact, she won an Academy Award while starring in Mom. I remember the old days, we've talked about this before. I remember the old days of you had your television actors and you had your movie actors, and television never crossed over into movies and vice versa. Of course, now that's not an issue. Of
Right.
course, nobody thinks twice. But then again, I started thinking, she leaves the show. In the back of my mind, when a star leaves a show at the top of its game, I tend to think of Shelley Long from Cheers, or I tend to think of McLean Stevenson from MASH. Like, what were you guys thinking? And years later, both of them said, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have stayed with the show. But that's the story with
Well,
that.
Anna Faris was in movies before she came over to television. Movies. I mean, she was in like what are those movies that are based off of Scream?
Yeah, she was in those.
She was in those. She was in like,
she
she
made
was
a
in,
couple, but there's not anything that I could sit there and say, wow, that was a bona fide hit.
absolutely. I mean, she had her niche, and that's the role that she always played in movies.
Right.
But this show sort of put her on the map when it comes to television.
Mhm.
And I guess she made this decision almost right before they were going to start shooting.
Right, because she has to come back for 1 or 2 episodes, I guess, to tie up loose ends.
Yeah.
However they're going to write her out, she's got to come back for that, and then she's gone. So,
I mean, she said because of other opportunities, right? That's why
Right.
That's the reasoning she's giving. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you have a whole crew, a whole set of castmates that are all dependent on that. So
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't have been an easy decision unless something was going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of
True.
as to why she would leave. I think Charlie Sheen should go on the show in some role.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
Because it's the same guy, right? Isn't it the same guy that created?
Chuck Lorre created Mom. He created Two and a Half Men,
Yeah,
Mike and Molly, and he created the Big Bang Theory. So
that's a pretty good resume.
yeah,
That's
I
a
think
pretty
he's
good resume.
yeah, I think he's doing all right.
Why didn't Police Chief AJ Perez get him to write his resume?
There you go.
As opposed to
we really
some
shouldn't go
officers
there, but-
Well, hey, I'm out of his jurisdiction. So I mean, he's got no case here. All right, so we ready for bad decisions here?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Bad decisions. Bad decisions. Mike Bellamy is here for you and me.
See, it's a song. I couldn't stop
I saw
moving.
that.
I had to keep dancing. All right, see, there's nothing wrong with buying a birthday gift for yourself. Have you ever done that?
Sure.
Okay. But there's definitely something wrong with buying this particular present for yourself. There's a 33-year-old woman named Ashley Spencer of Palm Bay, Florida. She turns 34 in a few weeks on the 29th. And she recently tried to hire a hitman to take out her husband's mistress, and even told the hitman that she wanted it done before her birthday so it could be her gift. She offered $2,000. That's how much a life is worth these days for the job, and even helped the hitman plan the murder. But see, the problem is the hitman was an undercover police officer. So Ashley was arrested on 2 felony counts, solicitation to commit murder and solicitation to commit burglary. Happy
birthday to you.
My gosh.
I hope that birthday cake has a file in it, you know. Come on.
If it doesn't, one's trying to bring it in, that's for sure. Now, during the show last week, we asked people to tell us what was a good time to release it. You know, here we are now this week having to completely mess everything up schedule-wise and stuff. So it's being released the old-fashioned way. I'll release it on my Facebook page and on the Tony and Mike's New Adventure Facebook page, and then Tony will share it on his. But as I expected, answers were all over the place. So we had some people asking Tony for you and I to do a daily morning show. I mean, I can't commit to this every morning, and been there, done that. We did that already. Other people said 9 o'clock was fine Thursdays. Other people said maybe a little earlier. Other people listen on the weekend. So we're going to continue with the 9 o'clock on Thursdays till further notice. Yeah, and for now. And we'll see how it goes from there. But this week, as we said, with the breaking story in Bridgeport, kind of affected how we were recording it this time. So we sort of went back to the old-fashioned way. So hopefully you find it. If you're watching it, you certainly have found it. But what is the word that people need to write down, Tony, as they comment? And I will prolong this as much as possible until you give me a face that shows me that you know a word at this point, because you obviously haven't thought of any.
No. I put great thought into this.
Okay, so we'll put that in the comments.
Did we do this one? If we've done this one, then wave me off. I was going to say mac and cheese.
No.
Okay.
No, we haven't done mac and cheese.
Okay.
Okay, so mac and cheese. Now that's Kraft. But you did mozzarella before, and we had a big Kraft fight about that.
Right.
But mac and cheese, not its, in my opinion, liquid gold better version, which is shells and cheese from Velveeta.
Right.
Different. That's my choice. Liquid gold. You instead want the mac and cheese. So people need to put mac and cheese in the comments, and we'll mention your name on episode 9. But this is episode 8. And once again, thank you so much for watching.
That's a show. That's a show.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Hopefully, God willing, we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.